He's been called an internet entrepreneur, a geek, obviously, which back in my day, that wasn't a cool thing. Now they own much bigger houses than most all of us, and they're worth a lot more money. And they're changing the world. If you really, I mean, the way I look at it, they're literally changing the world. He's been a TV host, technology enthusiast, early adopter. I mean, what I'm most fascinated with, and this is really where I was going with the earlier conferences we had, where folks were asking us a lot of questions. They were interested, and I'll let the folks ask you some questions, but people are constantly asking us to meet with people that have used social media to grow their brand. It's that simple. And we talked about this earlier, there are people that are jumping into that as a profession. And when you ask those people, well, do you have any case studies? Can you talk about your own brand, how you've grown that? And it seems like it's so new to them that they don't really have those case studies, but they have really learned the technical side of how to set up a Facebook fan page. And they may not understand the marketing element, but they're really good at the technical side. But you, on the other hand, have embedded social media into your brand. And you've really used it to help grow that brand and create a community. Is that fair?
It's both fair, and it is fair, but to add some perspective to that, I was using these types of tools long before social media was a phrase or understood for what it is, whatever that is, and have been, the word I use is catalyzing or starting communities long before a lot of tools even existed in the first place. So before blogging was blogging, I was blogging. Having a personal essay, as we used to call it when I was still in the undergrad program. That's what blogging was called, even though blogging wasn't a word. It wasn't around. It wasn't a tool. We just, everybody sees, a new variety of tools crop up, and at breakneck speed. What's relevant this year may very well not be relevant next year. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, it was, MySpace and Dig and Delicious, and you really don't hear about them much anymore. It's all about Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. They're just tools. And if you see them as tools and you are creative with your knowledge and you turn that knowledge into intelligence, you can figure out, where you sit in the mix. And so for me, it's validation, being able to connect with like-minded people, being able to share information, which is really what kind of got me started, loving to share information, and being at that, I guess, crossroads of, having that information and meeting someone who needs that information. For all intents and purposes, that crossroads anymore is Google. That's where people go to get information. And then vicariously YouTube and the like. So, I hear the same questions, like case studies. Who's actually doing it? How do I figure out how to get my small business to use these tools? Okay, let me give you an example. And I'm sorry we're not connected here. And I didn't bring my iPad with me, and the screen's not that big. So, how many dog owners in the audience? Dog owners or lovers? Okay, great. So I've got 2 dogs, Wicket and Pixie, little small dogs. And they poop, as dogs do, right? So you got to clean up the poop. It just has to happen. Problem is you get busy and you can't clean up the poop. Well, you don't want the poop laying around. That's not good. It's just not good. You don't want to fertilize your lawn that way, and you certainly don't want to be stepping in it. So there's a small business in the Seattle area called Pooper Trooper. And once a week, they will come out to your home and they will clean up the dog poop. They're on Twitter. They're on YouTube. They've figured it out. And if a business whose sole model is dog can figure out Twitter and YouTube, I'm pretty sure every other small business on the planet can too. So they're just using the same tools.
You had me at poop.
Now that's something to tweet right there. That's the tweetable comment right there.
All right, man. You are.
So, but the point is, the way I use it is
They
going
have
to be
a strategy.
different. Right. Well, they don't just have a strategy; they have a business. They have a core business model. They understand their business. They obviously care about what they do. They recognize it as a model, and they know that these social media tools are there to help get their message out. So they're just using those tools, and that's it. You're just using tools.
So actually, this leads to one of the questions that I got from somebody in the crowd. What do you think the biggest misconception is about social media?
That it's difficult to figure out. How many of you guys have been online on Twitter? How many of you are on Twitter right now? Have you been online for a week? Cool, you guys are experts. It just doesn't take much. I mean, it's not. Social media isn't an industry. It's just a freaking phrase. And it's all it is. I mean, how many quote-unquote webmasters did you know back in the day? I mean, I know HTML, bold tag, ooh.
Yeah. Fascinating. You are killing me.
I see. But here's the misconception is that it is difficult to understand and difficult to get into, and it really isn't. What social media is, if anything, in searching for a definition, is a set of tools that make it easier to connect with others. That's it. That's the bottom line. It's a way to get your message across, whatever that message is, whether it's, here's what I'm having for breakfast, or, hey, here's a really cool link that I found, or whatever it happens to be, you're sharing. You're, in many ways, marketing. So social media is marketing.
So we have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm a therapist, and I have an internet business. I do intuitive work as well. What I want to know is my blogs are really deep and almost Jungian kind of things, and I don't think it reaches a lot of people. So I need some tips on blogging.
Oh, that's a great question. One thing that I've discovered about internet content is the less insipid it is, the less likely someone's going to be interested in reading it. So the more insipid something is, the more interested someone is going to be in reading it, which isn't to say dumb down your content. But it's something that, just happens. In having these tools available, it's easy to get your thoughts from point A to point B, get them published. But my question to anybody who asks this question is, where are you participating? And where are you commenting? And I don't mean commenting in terms of trying to drive traffic back to your website. I mean legitimate activity in commenting. Usually, you get seen by being seen. And unfortunately, you can't always count on Google to drive that traffic, although they will most likely drive a lion's share of traffic to any website. So certainly SEO, or search engine optimization, is valid and it is important. But beyond that, in terms of cultivating your brand, your identity, your whatever you're putting out on the web, but identifying who out there is creating things that you love, creating things that you can get behind, creating things that are just amazing, whether they be YouTube videos, tweets, Facebook fan pages, blogs. Are you participating? Are you putting your name out there? Are you making yourself known? And not just putting your name out there is like, I agree, but taking somebody's point and furthering it, adding your perspective, agreeing with someone, disagreeing with someone. The more you participate out there, the more likely others will be to participate with you. And so that's always the answer that I give is really in the form of a question, like, where are you participating?
So besides your own sites, obviously, what social networking sites or media do you see yourself participating in most?
Oh, I love YouTube. I can tell you, I've always been a big fan of video since long before it was, digital, certainly.